Ladies and gentlemen, since the ultimate duo has finally returned in Jujutsu Kaisen, I figured why not the Yuji and Todo of this YouTube shit, that being me and Aero Flame of course, to give you guys probably the most controversial video we've released yet. That being our ranking of the upperclassmen.
This pretty much consists of the Monster 3 that was said to be the next best thing against Sukuna, along with the new version of Todo, who we're going to be talking plenty about.
Anyway, we could just get right into our list. I mean, we're just pretty much ranking 4 characters only. This video is not going to be very long. But starting off our list, we have none other than Kinji Hakari. As much as it pains me to say, he unfortunately has the least going for him out of these main 4. In his big fight with Kashimo, he pretty much lost and then decided to use the area to his advantage to make Kashimo basically give up. If Kashimo really wanted to, he could have just used Mythic Beast Amber to kill Hakari anyway, and if it wasn't for Hakari and Kashimo even being near the water, Hakari would have been cooked. And during Shinjuku Showdown, while literally all of the upperclassmen that we are talking about in this video have their own feats against Sukuna, he is fighting Arame for about 7 months and seemingly doing 0 damage to him. In physicals as well, he's probably the weakest, beating up a Yuji who's purposely letting himself get hit without using cursed energy to amp his durability. Granted, Hakari probably wasn't using cursed energy in his blows either, but I do believe this looks way worse than Yuji hesitating to kill Yuta because he's trying to kill him. I mean, Yuji in that fight is actually fighting Yuta, whereas in the Hakari one, he's literally letting himself get hit. Hakari's best feature though is his domain activation speed without a doubt, but it doesn't really matter when you have things like 50 claps of Boogie Woogie, Soul Katana, or Jacob's Ladder. I'll elaborate more on those obviously as we get to it, but Hakari simply just has the worst feats, and until he's given something more in Shinjuku, I'm putting him here. I mean, for God's sakes, we got Yuta and Gojo's body before Hakari fighting Sukuna. Next in line, we have none other than Maki Zenin herself. Some of you could say she's higher, which I definitely believe is a discussion to be made. I mean, before Shinjuku, she had better feats than everyone on this list, with her performing like an all-star against 15-finger Maguna. And even after this, she would manage to show something even more impressive than this, surviving multiple black flashes from high-end era Sukuna and get the jump on him with her Soul Katana. Maki's feats are ridiculous, so you guys are probably wondering, why isn't she higher? While I do agree in terms of raw power, she's arguably the best here, in Jujutsu Kaisen, you need way more than just high physical stats to win. This is not Dragon Ball. Yuta, after facing the curses Kenjaku spawned, would say that these guys would have given Maki trouble, along with Maki even constantly glazing Yuta and implying he's far more crucial than herself in taking down Sukuna. Though you could just say she's the Tenten to his Neji and she's just simply downplaying herself, but Aero now is going to explain why these next 2 upperclassmen are a good bit above the previous 2 I just talked about.
In all honesty, these next 2 spots could be very interchangeable, and we'll get into why. But after some pondering, we've decided to put Todo at number 2 and Yuta Okkotsu at number 1. Now, if this was the Todo from Shibuya, he wouldn't be anywhere near the top here. However, this is the Todo from the Shinjuku Showdown. After finally making his appearance to battle, we see that his Boogie Woogie has been revised and he's now on another tier of power. If you couldn't already catch this man with normal clapping, now imagine pretty much 50 times that per second. Already, when used against Mahito noted that even when you knew the attack was coming, Hanami as well noted, even when you know it's coming, it's a very hard attack to adapt to. The only character that we've really seen adapt to it in any shape or form is Hanami, who was starting to time the switches after taking just a brutal beating from just Todo and Itadori. The only time that he actually manages to land a hit on Todo is through the use of the clone that he makes through his multiplicity. Outside of that, he just notes that Boogie Woogie is just an overwhelmingly bothersome technique that makes getting a hit on either of them extremely difficult. It's something that Sukuna not only can't adapt to, but we even see the King of Curses being outsmarted by Todo multiple times. Sukuna before this has dealt with everything that's tried to press him pretty comfortably, but now after being put up against Todo, he can't adapt or even outsmart him. Todo is shown to have the greatest curse knowledge and technical knowledge amongst the students, only matched in one of those categories by Yuta himself. And Todo arguably has the greatest battle IQ in this series, the 530,000 IQ feat on its own being pretty ridiculous, and we see in combat he keeps pretty much all possibilities of what his opponent can do in mind. And the thing is, you can't even say that Todo just got faster, as we see him blatantly drawing blood from the King of Curses, which makes sense as Todo believes every fight makes a sorcerer stronger regardless of the outcome. On top of all this, using a domain isn't even a guaranteed, since he can negate the sure hit with the use of his simple domain.
Todo is a goddamn monster, and in terms of hand-to-hand combat, no one on this list is touching him. However, even with this in mind, there is a chance Todo still falls to the likes of Yuta Okkotsu. We see during his brief battle with Sukuna that he was able to break through Sukuna's hollow wicker basket. This to me should mean that Todo's simple domain prison wouldn't work, but to be fair, we've never seen Todo actually interact with the domain like Jacob's Ladder or Sukuna's, which we could have gotten in 260, but after the reveal in 261, yeah, that's more than likely not going to happen. So it's really up in the air to see how Todo would respond to something like Jacob's Ladder. But with the likes of not only Thin Icebreaker, but Curse Speech, along with even Cleave, there's just a lot of ways for Yuta to put Todo down more than Todo has for Yuta. However, the problem is that this is under the presumption that the domain is already activated. Now, Aero, I want to ask you, what do you honestly think would happen in a normal fight scenario?
The problem actually stems from how Yuta fights, since in character he usually tries to jump with Rika, and he can only do so for about 5 minutes. In a situation like this, Todo comes at an advantage, since he now has an extra party member to use with Boogie Woogie to more easily disrupt Yuta's combos. We also have to take into account just the rate at which he's using Boogie Woogie by this point. On the screen here, we're probably going to have a visual representation of what it looks like to be switched at 50 times per second. But as Sukuna says, it's something that is really difficult to adapt to. This fight comes down to if Yuta gets off a domain or not, in which case, if he does, he probably does win, but there is the case of Todo just beating him up before he gets to that, Yuta not getting to that point since he doesn't use a domain early on in the fight, or Todo being able to outlast his domain and Rika as it's only 5 minutes. The fight is kind of a toss-up, but ultimately we give it to Yuta more times than not.
And with that being said, this is our ranking of the upperclassmen. If you guys want us to talk about more JJK related stuff, well, depending on how these next few chapter goes, we more than likely will never do this again, but hey, hopefully Gege can cook. Anyway guys, see you guys later. Before I end this video off, I would like to let you guys know that I actually opened up a channel membership. What that means is essentially all my live streams and live streams I'm going to be doing going forward are now going to be only accessible towards members. In order to become a member, you just simply pay $1.99 a month and you have access to my live streams and basically anything that we do. Me and Godspeed are pretty much going to continue our Pokemon run there. You know, I'm going to be playing other games potentially, and along with just talking about mangas that come out weekly. If you are interested in that, then feel free to check out the link not only in the description but also in the pinned comments. And with that aside, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching and the support.